Hello, my name is Ngwatila Mobio. I'm a poet from Kenya, and I've selected 3 poems to share with you today. I thought, given the theme of, I think, transformative testimony, that I would share testimonies from different perspectives in this selection. So I've chosen a poem from a more personal space and context, and then a more, I guess, second person and into a situation that many people from Kenya will be familiar with. I'll share a little bit more about each poem as I go. So the first poem is called I Dream My Father is a Freedom Fighter. This is part of Dagoretti Corner, which is my second chapbook with Akashic Books. And I've been writing a lot about my late dad as just in thinking about grief and just because he was passing for a very long time. So for a long time, I was in the space of a kind of unarticulated grief. And I think it's probably relevant to a lot of people in this time. I dream my father is a freedom fighter. I'm buttering a slice of bread as if it's the only thing in the world, a knife grazing bread without drawing blood. My father rushes into the room bare-chested, round and sagging like Gandhi, if he'd been meaty. My father, in loincloth, whispers hoarsely as though his life depends on my knowing why he's been so willful, won't give in to the power, the smooth smear of butter on bread. He's out the back door before I hear, wild. They descend on him there, the soldiers of the government, long machetes and clubs. My father is a wild loincloth Gandhi outside when I look up from the blade, see his soft skin, how his bones cower underneath. Now I'm running to save my father, small woman that I am. In the mob, between him and the soldiers, aunties stand, arms interlinked, holding candles, saving my father, a multitude of tiny lights. Around 2012, 2013, I was traveling around Kenya, staying with different rural Kenyan families. This was following Kenya's post-election violence. And the goal was to understand who Kenyans were, which may sound funny, but sometimes you live together, but you don't actually understand how each other think, especially when you don't share a mother tongue. And Kenya has at least 42 different ethnic groups and attendant languages, some of which are related, but I tend to think that sharing that has an impact in, sharing a language has an impact in how you relate to each other. It's obviously one of the things that is used to alienate us from each other during political strife. So one of the families I stayed with was in Meru, where the primary crop is mira, which is a kind of it's also called kat. It's a mild stimulant. So that was the cash crop that they grow, and it has a deep history in this space. It's not just a cash crop. It's also a cultural plant that's used in weddings and so on. Anyway, I met Star, and Star doesn't have a paper trail. And this is the poem for him. Paper trail. 26-year-old Star decorates his living room walls with newspaper. The small print cliches like raw cassava, sustenance, and poison in flat syntax. In this country, the cut that made a woman of his mother is forbidden. She kept the secret home for 9 babies, ignored the redemptive power of hospitals and birth certificates, chose instead to raise a family in the crease of the nation state contract. No high school will admit Star now that we're civilized. His added sin, the timing of his ambition to pursue enlightenment, infiltrate the white-collar economy, become ethereal. Star's birthright is the contracting sliver of land fathers pass on to sons, nothing more. In this country, law is a Rift Valley cliff face, impassable, a provocation for the reckless unless they have rope. There is a windward side to our geography, where law is rain buoying the blessed to new life. Had Star been born there or baptized, his name would be in the book tallying those who shall inherit the earth. Star is fallen seed, cast out, left behind. At home, inside that fissure, between fruitless visits to the civil registry, Star catches events from beyond the blue by radio signal, each morning the BBC. He reads the newspaper aloud whenever he can, rehearsing for the day a fellow villager, blessed with a hospital birth and baptismal certificate, opens those celestial gates to citizenship. If you want to read that poem, you can find it in Wasafiri. I think it's volume 35, number 4 from 2020. The third poem is an old poem from my first collection, Blue Mother Tongue. And a common thing, which is why it's anyone from Kenya will know it, was the student demonstrations, especially around the 90s and early thousands, and still to this day. And every time there's a demonstration of any kind, whether it's student or, recently we've had doctors and teachers and yeah. So when a demonstration happens, you're always primed to have a conflict with the police, and there's a particular unit that is often at the center of this, which is the riot police, or the GSU, which actually has, I was interested to learn a history, well, everything in Kenya has a colonial history, but it goes back to that, and how we are policed is framed by the colonial experience. So it's difficult to separate the two. So this poem is called Heard, Traffic Light Monologue. And I thought the traffic light was a good witness to have in this situation, because it's the one thing that has to be stationary because it has no choice, while everyone, well, tear gas and so on is going off. The other thing that you should know is I use Sheng and Kiswahili in English, which is how urban Kenyans speak, especially young Kenyans when they're comfortable. It's a very kind of urban speak. Obviously people speak straight English, straight Swahili, straight whatever mother tongue that they wish, but Sheng is kind of the meeting together of all of these ways of speaking and knowing, and it's something that's kind of shared in the urban space. So, Heard, Traffic Light Monologue. Ga. Yani vile watu siku hizi hawana haya. No respect wakinigonga gonga hapa na mawe. It's just good they can't pick up the cement flower pots of Margaret Kenyatta. Kama angefufuka akuemea tena. Mwenye yuko City Hall angesema what he has been doing all this time. Ni kama the whole institution imedecide au imejiconvince kwamba Kenya yetu haiendi mahali. Wanatuwaste yani. Sijui boss aliget gari mpya and he just looked at it. Now 40 years have passed, gari imeget rust, mara HIV imepanda, Ebola upitianga. The thing is, hii gari yetu wanasemanga it does not operate in a closed system. Unanielewa? Gearbox ikidecide dere ajui chenye anadu. Anaweza hama. Uliza Bernard Lagat atakushow. Kidogo tutasikia there's a portion of the states breaking off kwa sababu ya Wakenya. Na wasilete. Everyone in state 2 is an immigrant isipokuwa Native Americans. INS ikitaka iende waulize Wayahudi, yani the Jews, tena wale wao wataambiwa 500 years is nothing when you're talking about ancestral land. Shida wase hapa kampo na my youth generally ni vile wanajua kuna kitu funny na happen. They know, but they don't know the root of the problem. Na iko deep bana, iko deep. Hata wakichimba, wachimbue na wachomwe ma recommendations, there will be no change. Si hawa ni wasomi. Probably wameona the most productive thing ni kutupa mawe. On my side, naona at least ni wafupi. Imagine kama wangekuwa wamejenga kaa Black Americans, tuseme Shaq hivi. Hizo flower pots zingekuwa airborne kaa ball. Labda wangening'oa wanitumie kaa rungu au ka hockey stick. Kidogo umwone Lilian wa MO1 akitimua. Ta imagine. Watoi wamevaa tu cotton. Sika police hawa nyuma yangu, and I know they are behind me. Hata kaa siwezi turn kuwaona, I know they are there. Na wasikia wakisweat, wakimatch na nguo zao zote mashati bulletproof na shield ati gusa serikali uone. Come on. Haya. Wameanza. Thank you for having me.